Evening, everyone. Let's wait for a couple of minutes. Okay, let me leave it like it is. Before we start, can you please confirm that you can see the presentation and that you can hear me well? Because last time I believe we had some issues. The screen sharing. Okay, like this. Cool. Yeah, thank you. And okay, so today we will talk about the SQS and SNS, which are actually just the services in the AWS. I believe you already heard that we have a huge amount of services in the AWS. But if you are talking about the services, it's not only the virtual machines or database instances or just something like this. Sometimes it's maybe just handy tools which you can use to build your application. And I think SQS and SNS are such tools, just because we just can't use them because without any application behind them, we are actually just nothing. So it's just kind of tools, but AWS once again call it services, which makes in our life a bit easier. So, and today we'll try to understand how can we leverage the SQS and SNS power just to make our application a bit more robust and fault tolerant. Okay, let's get started, I believe. So, unfortunately, the agenda for today is quite short. So we'll have a look at the task, and we will try to understand how can they use SQS and SNS in this to solve this task. And I will briefly explain you how both of these services work. So this is how our schema looks like from the perspective of this task. So not much, actually. If you have a look at the upper side of this red square, so you will see the import file parser, actually which function is already should be implemented from your end at the previous task. So this function is just responsible to get the CSV file and parse it line by line, and hopefully make sure that all of the data is consistent enough and filled with the proper information in the proper way. And before, we've been just sending the data from this CSV file right to the logs. And that's it. So it was the scope of the previous task. So we've been taking the CSV file, reading it line by line, and printing all of the information to the logs. That's it. So nothing practical in here. So nothing useful in here. But yeah, just it for the educational purposes. But next, we will try to make this Lambda function a bit more useful. And in order to do it, we will leverage the SQS service, which stands for Simple Queue Service. So how can it help us? So first of all, even DynamoDB, since it's a good database, NoSQL, and quite fast and very robust and fault tolerant, but it still has some limitations. And these limitations, for example, is amount of data which it can take in one batch to upload in it. So now let's imagine, but using the CSV file, we will try to upload not 5, not 10, but the hundreds of thousands of lines to our database. And in this case, I believe we will have some errors from the database side, just because this amount of data is too huge to be processed by the DynamoDB. And unfortunately, we will not succeed with this one. But in order to avoid it, we can use the SQS. We can read this file line by line using Lambda function, and then line by line, we can put these products in the queue. This queue will be some kind of, maybe not instance, but some ephemeral instance. So we'll create the queue, and this queue will only receive these lines of the products, line by line, and it will put every one line as a one message. So in this case, SQS queue will be responsible to store all of this information, and then by demand, all of these products may be taken from this queue, and they will be taken from this queue by another Lambda function, but we will talk about it a bit later. So and once we will take the product from the queue, it will be just removed from the queue entirely. Then we will process this one and just take all of this stuff which we need to do with this exact product. So in other words, we will just try to separate a huge CSV file and try to process it line by line using the SQS queue. And in this case, okay, you may actually ask, so why can't they just use the Lambda function just to parse it line by line and post it to the DynamoDB line by line as well? Actually, it's not the best approach, just because Lambda function is supposed to leave as short as possible. So it's just their nature. So we should just appear, just do something, and just disappear. And this is why it's not recommended to do some time-consuming tasks with the Lambda function, and which 10,000s of lines actually will be. So now we will put just this line, all of these lines into the SQS queue, and SQS queue will be responsible to trigger another Lambda function. And as you can see at the bottom of the red square, we have the product service once again. So we will come back from the import service to the product service folder, and we will create another Lambda function, which will be triggered by the SQS queue event. So whenever something is happening, whenever any new message appearing in the SQS queue, Lambda function should be triggered just to process these messages one by one, once again. Okay, this is what about the SQS queue, but they also have the SNS service in the AWS. Actually, nothing interesting with one, just because it's a simple notification service or something. Yeah, it should be simple notification service. So it will be just responsible to make notifications about something is happening. And in our case, we will just make in our Lambda function, not just process these lines of products from the CSV file, from the SQS queue, sorry. But we will also ask this Lambda function to trigger, to create the email and send it to us, to our personal email, and inform us about what we just processed, the some particular product, some particular string, or just whatever. So in case of SQS queue, we will just create the queue, which we will populate with the messages of our products. And in case of the SNS, we should create a topic. And under the topic, there would be some criteria on which kind of data, which kind of event, by which kind of event it may be triggered, and what kind of the message it will send to our recipient. So in our case, it will be just us, but in the production environment, yeah, it may be just whoever you want. And once in our Lambda function, taken the product from the SQS queue, put it in the DynamoDB, and send a notification to our email. Actually, that's it. From its that's the perspective of this is how our task looks like from this perspective. Sorry, from this perspective. I think we may have a look at the task itself. So for these purposes, let me share my screen. Yeah, I believe we had an issue with the screen sharing. So let me just rearrange this one. And where are you? Okay, yeah, here we go. So now you should see my screen, actually. Yep, here you go. This is an AWS console. Let me go ahead to our task. Task number 6, Async Microservices communication. Actually, SQS queue is quite useful also when you are working with the containers, because instead of storing some data on the database and when trying to take the information from this database by another service, sometimes maybe a bit complicated and maybe not necessary. So if you are talking about the containers, I think SQS queue is the best buffer of messages between two microservices. So yeah, I believe this is why Async Microservice communication is kind of name of this task. Okay, so if you can see my screen, where is the task description? First of all, 6.1, create a Lambda function called catalog batch process. Let's try to open the task focus. Yeah, the same picture. Under the product service. So product service means we should just go to the previous one, to the previous folder, to the previous project. Let's say previous, I don't know how to call it in our way. So two previous Lambda functions have been created in the import service folder, but this repository, but this one should be created in the product service repository. Or if you are working with just one repository, just in our CDK project. Okay. And this Lambda function, as I already mentioned, should be triggered by the SQS event. So whatever you will put something in the SQS queue, this Lambda function should be triggered. Create the SQS queue called catalog items in the AWS CDK stack. Yeah, it's quite trivial, I'd say, because you'll need just to go to the CDK documentation and come on, is it something happening? Hello, hello? Can you hear me? Just because from my end, it looks like guys have some issues. Okay, so let me put it in here. Try to open this one. At least you can hear me. Don't know if you can see me because the picture looks a bit blurry from my end. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, exactly. So configure the SQS to trigger Lambda with 5 messages at once with batch size. So we'll put all of the products line by line at the SQS queue. Yeah, the same issue actually. I believe. I'm not sure if I can do something about it, but I believe it's not a big deal. Okay, yeah, here we go. Another camera. Should be better. Okay, so SQS queue. So we should configure it to trigger Lambda functions with 5 messages at once via the batch size property. You will find this configuration in the documentation of the SQS queue and how to create it with the CDK. So it's just another option. The Lambda function should iterate over all SQS messages and create responding products in the products table. So what we've been doing with products one by one, creating it with the API, now we should do with the Lambda function, but by taking these products from the SQS queue, which taken it from the CSV file, which we've just uploaded via the UI of our application. This is how it should work. Next, 6.2. Update the import file parser Lambda function in the import service to send each CSV record into SQS queue. Pretty simple. Instead of just logging all of these lines one by one, now we should put them in our freshly created SQS queue. Actually, that's it. You should no longer log entries from the readable stream to CloudWatch. So yeah, pretty, as I already mentioned. So we are just getting rid of logs, and instead we will just put this line by line into the SQS queue with this Lambda function from the task number 5. Next, 6.3, create an SNS topic, which should be called create product topic, and email subscription in the AWS CDK stack of the product service. So we will once again go to the product service and create the topic, which will be responsible just to create the emails about what we just processed some files, and then they just put them in the DynamoDB. Create subscription. Okay, with your own email in here. Okay, update catalog batch process Lambda function in the product service to send an event to the SNS topic once it creates products. Pretty simple. Committal. This one as usual. So you will need to create a new branch, which should be called task 6 from your main branch. And once your job is done, so create a pull request to the master and provide the pull request to the submission in the crosscheck. And I believe it should be additional tasks. Oh, what it is? You should verify the Lambda functions SQS in the PR. Okay, yeah, looks good as usual. So just have a look at the code. Just try to understand what's just written on this particular by this particular student, and just try to verify if everything is fine and in place. And then let's jump into the additional tasks. So first one, catalog batch process Lambda is covered by unit tests. Once again, if you will mention how to do it, just go ahead. Unit tests, cool. Set a filter policy for SNS, create product topic in AWS CDK stack, and create an additional email subscription to distribute messages to different emails depending on the filter for any product attribute. You may create the, for example, by the price or by the amount of the product have been created, have been put it to the DynamoDB. So it's up to you. Just choose one of the attribute and just create some kind of separation of these messages. It may be just different structure of the email, different topic of this email, or just whatever. So they should be just different for any kind of attribute by your choice. Penalty, as usual. Description template for PR, as usual. Nothing new. I believe now we are good to have a look at the implementation itself. So I will try to show you the structure which you should achieve in this one. Okay, where is it possible? To use transaction plus batch. I don't get the question, unfortunately. Possibility is the transaction. So, what do you mean by transaction? So maybe if you could elaborate a bit, so I will get on track. But yeah, looks like I'm lost a bit with this one. Okay, let's jump into the code, and I'll back to this question once will provide me with some clarification. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, where is my product service folder, which I'm using for the product services. And here I have, okay, maybe let's first have a look at the input service, just because this lambda function should get some changes. So it's import, it's parse file, yeah. And we've been parsing it line by line, and as I already shown you at the previous lecture, so I already have this SQS queue implemented. So I'm just initializing the SQS queue and providing the name of this SQS queue. And then instead of just printing it to the logs, so I can get rid of this one for now, I'm just sending all of these messages to the SQS queue. Not much interesting actually. So just because I'm just providing the URL of my SQS queue and just a body which contains the products from my CSV file. And once we are done, we have another lambda function which is located in the product service. Okay, yeah, let's jump into your question once again. We used to upload data with a script in a batch. We had to use transaction. On a post of a single item, we had to use transaction. We used to upload data with a script. Oh, actually, it's up to you, because using scripts, when I've been uploading my products with the script, I've been uploading one by one, I believe. So it's up to you. Where is it? Should be something, yeah, like still the bear. DB, blah, 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 fake data. And yeah, I've been putting them one by one, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so where was I? Oh, should be like put batch, I believe. Yeah, this one. So this lambda function is a bit more complicated, just because it have two purposes. First one is to be invoked and placing our data in the DynamoDB. And the second duty for this lambda function will be to post the SNS message in our SNS topic. In order to do this, we will need to create this SNS and provide the name of our SNS topic. And it will be actually just enough to put all of the data to the SNS to make SNS being triggered and send the email right to us. Transaction, right items, transactions. I don't know why it looks like this. So maybe it's just, oh, okay, it's from the previous task. Okay. Believe I get it or not. So yeah, I believe it's from the previous task. Actually, I don't actually remember. So yeah, I believe in the previous task we've been using transactions to put the items. I don't know, but whatever. So, and once we are done with the implementation of two of these lambda functions, actually, that's it from the perspective of this task. Lambda deployment. I'm just trying to find the creation of the SQS and SNS topic. Yeah, here we go. So this is how we're creating. Once again, all of it using the CDK. If you're not using the Python but TypeScript or something else, it will be quite simple for you as well. So you will just find the documentation or use any kind of LLMs or just whatever, and try to find out how to create all of it in the CDK. Okay, let's have a look at the criteria once again. Okay, one question. To CDK and backend repo, where we should create SQS. If we will have a look at this one, so both SQS and product service, SQS and SNS should be created in the product service folder project of the CDK. So yeah, I think, yeah, I believe we are already done with the import service one, so we can forget about it for a while. And now we will create anything else in the product service before we will go to the authorization on the next session. I believe that's it. From the perspective of this week, yep. So if you have any questions, I think there is no better time to ask them. Here we go. Will it fit on the screen? Yeah. Reviewers have until Thursday night to review task 5. But if we work on task 6 in the meantime, we will have no cloud watching for product registered etc. How to review task 5 then. Okay, reviewing task number 5, actually it doesn't give you actually reviewers will not have access to the CloudWatch by any chance, only in case you will provide them with a special account created in your AWS console, additional account, and if you will provide it to them, so we will have an option to go to your AWS console and have a look at what's happening in the CloudWatch of your account. But I believe it's settled on what providing the screenshot of your CloudWatch will be more than enough to prove that you succeed with the logs. But if you are talking about checking someone's code, so this is why we have different branches. If you have the pull request, even if it's closed or open, doesn't matter. It still will be visible. All of these changes still will be visible from the for the reviewer, just to make sure that code is in place. I hope I answered the question, but if not, you can reach me directly, so we will try to find out what's the problem is. So what is the correct way to link services between CDK? Most of the services, okay, in case of Python, there is an option to use the Boto free library for Python, which gives you an option to initialize, okay, not initialize, but maybe instantiate the object of a class by its name. And in case of SQS and SNS, I believe it works, just because let's have a look on how it looks from my end. Okay, I believe you may be asking, I don't know, what's wrong with you? Okay, yeah, here we go. So let's have a look at my Lambda function. So I believe you're asking about the import service one, which will be responsible to put some notifications to the SQS. And in this case, we will go to the Lambda functions and go to the one which is called parse file. And as you can see, this is what I just told. So I'm using the Boto free library. With this one, I'm instantiating the object of the class Boto free client. And by calling it by the queue name, it's just enough to make it work. So by providing it, when I'm getting the URL of my SQS queue, and then I'm just using this this URL just to put messages inside of my SQS queue. Ensure providing the body of this message. Any more questions? Okay, so let's call it a day in this case. So, okay. And we will also see new products after importing the sysvim, but okay, for the SNS, we can imagine any topic we want. The instruction doesn't give examples. Yeah, just anything. So it will be just the implementation of the SNS, and you should know how to use it, how to create the SNS topic, how to use SNS topic, and mostly it's just for you. I believe it can be checked by the reviewer only from the perspective of the code. So, yeah. How we can create shared authentication stack, what will be available in import and product stack. Good question. Yeah, just because on the next lecture we will talk about the authorization, but only from the perspective of the import files. If you are talking about the, okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the, oh, yeah, like this. Let's have a look at the whole architecture of an application, because yeah, there's only card service and nothing else. So we're just having the endpoint put products. I believe it should be created somewhere on the backend side, just because you should not have the access to the create product, get product by ID, or get products list from the perspective of just a customer or an end user. So this one should be accessible only for, let's say, administrators or someone like this. But I don't know actually. Yeah, but I believe it should be something on the okay, not the backend, but how it called? Actually, I'm a bit missed in the terminology, just because we have the front end, which is actually have also some back end under the hood, and yeah. So I believe it should be created on the application side. So something like this. But yeah, nothing to share anymore. Sorry. Okay, but if you will have any more questions, feel free to reach me in the Discord. So yeah, I'll additionally notify you about the we had a conversation today about how should they check someone's job. So should it be line by line from the documentation or not? Should we apply some should we give the students a chance to impress their imagination doing these tasks? So yeah, I'll write the additional notification in both channels, Russian and English one, I believe. Yeah. Okay then. So let's call it a day. And thank you so much for your attendance. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Discord. So I'll try to help you as soon as possible. And don't forget what the deadline for the cross-check is, Wednesday, end of the day, by Greenwich, I believe. So yeah, don't miss it. Okay, so thank you so much, and see you on the next week. Bye.